Faramir had a dream, and more than once, night after night, he had the same dream, over and over again. And I know you might think, what makes this dream so important? Well, everything. This exact dream is the reason why Boromir joined the Fellowship, why he left Gondor in the hands of his father and brother, why Boromir eventually fell under the shadow of the One Ring. But before we dive into the importance of this dream, let's find out what this dream actually is. In this dream, he thought of the eastern sky grew dark, and there was a growing thunder. But in the west a pale light lingered, and out of it he heard a voice, remote but clear. Seek for the sword that was broken. In Imladris it dwells. There shall be counsels taken, stronger than Morgul's spells. There shall be shown a token, the doom is near at hand. For Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand. Faramir was the one who had this dream over and over again, and suddenly Boromir had a similar kind of dream. It was like someone was calling them for aid. It couldn't be a coincidence, so they went to the smartest man they knew, and that was their father, Denethor, Steward of Gondor. There Denethor tells them that Imladris is the house of Elrond, an elven lore master, and more than that he couldn't understand. So Faramir wanted to go and follow the words of that dream. But Boromir stepped in. He knew that the road would be full of danger and peril, so that is why Boromir went in his stead. 110 days it took Boromir to find the house of Elrond, seeking for answers. Once in Rivendell, which means Imladris in the common tongue, he joined a council. Not just any council. They were elves, men, dwarfs and hobbits there, all deciding what the fate for the One Ring shall be, how they are going to destroy it, and actually explaining that this is indeed the One Ring. During this council, everything became clear to Boromir. The sword that was broken was actually the sword of Elendil, which was called Narsil. That sword would be reforged into Anduril, Flame of the West, and would have Aragorn, the rightful king, to the throne of Gondor and Arnor as its bearer. And there was indeed a token shown. The One Ring was shown within the council. The One Ring forged in Mount Doom by the Dark Lord Sauron. The One Ring to rule them all, that Isildur has cut from Sauron's hand with the shards of his father's sword, that he eventually took as a war trophy after losing his father and brother during the Battle of the Last Alliance. This ring eventually became his downfall and betrayed Isildur after 2 years. This was Isildur's bane. The One Ring shone forth during a council in Imladris by a halfling or a hobbit named Frodo Baggins. It all became clear to Boromir what this dream meant and why he needed to go to Rivendell. And that is why he suggested to use this One Ring against Sauron, use it to win the war and defeat the enemy. He found the last king of Gondor and Arnor. He found Isildur's bane. In his eyes, with the last king and the One Ring, Sauron didn't have a chance. So Boromir joined the Fellowship and eventually became corrupted by the One Ring. It wants to be taken by Boromir and brought to Gondor, closer to its master. And eventually Boromir snaps and tries to take the ring from Frodo, near the Falls of Rauros. This pivotal moment became the breaking point of the Fellowship. Then Frodo's plan was clear. He saw that the One Ring corrupted the mind of Boromir, and he didn't want anyone else to fall into darkness, so he made his decision to go further alone to Mordor, leaving the rest behind. Except for Sam, of course. A couple of days later, Frodo comes across Faramir and the Rangers in Ithilien, and there Frodo was interrogated by Faramir about the death of Boromir and the fate of the Fellowship, trying to solve the riddle on his own. And Frodo helps him with this, but he leaves out the One Ring. Faramir keeps on asking for Isildur's bane, for this was the last thing that he couldn't figure out. Even his father Denethor didn't really know what it was. There were scrolls in Minas Tirith about Isildur and what really happened during the Battle of the Last Alliance, but it was in a language long forgotten by the men of Gondor. Eventually Faramir finds out that Isildur's bane was the One Ring, forged by Sauron during the Second Age. But Faramir doesn't want it, even if it was the only thing that could save Gondor. He would never use the weapon of the enemy. He knew that it would betray him in the end. Due to this, I know now why the dream first came to Faramir, for he would reject the ring and help the ring bearer in any way possible to destroy it, and eventually save all the races in Middle-earth. But Boromir went in instead. Of course that meant that Frodo eventually made a step to go further alone, leaving the Fellowship. What do you think would have happened if Faramir joined the Fellowship instead of Boromir? Would the Fellowship break? And would Frodo also complete the quest? Would someone else be corrupted by the One Ring? I want to read your thoughts in the comments. During the Council of Elrond there were also a lot of other people, and the which were Gloin and Gimli, who arrived in Rivendell for two reasons. Not only to tell them that the Messenger of Mordor asked 3 times for information of Bilbo Baggins in exchange for the remaining Dwarven Rings of Power, but what to do about Balin and his company. They haven't heard any news from him or his companions. If you want to know what really happened to Balin, then check out his next video. Bye bye.